Imagine a scenario, a hypothetical situation, that sends chills down the spines of many. India, a regional power, makes the unthinkable decision to attack its smaller neighbor, Nepal. These two nations, bound by history, culture, and the Himalayas, find themselves locked in a conflict that would have profound consequences for the entire region. This is not a prediction, but a thought experiment. We will explore the possible military, political, and humanitarian ramifications of such an event. By examining this dark hypothetical, we gain a deeper understanding of the importance of diplomacy, cooperation, and the interconnectedness of our world. While this scenario is unsettling, analyzing it allows us to appreciate the fragility of peace and the need for peaceful resolution. It reminds us that dialogue and mutual respect are essential for a stable and prosperous South Asia. The hope, of course, is that this scenario remains purely hypothetical. The real world is complex, and such an event would depend on a multitude of factors. However, by exploring this what-if scenario, we gain valuable insights into the potential costs of conflict and the importance of striving for a future defined by peace and cooperation. In this hypothetical scenario, India's military might would be evident from the outset. With a larger army, advanced weaponry, and a robust economy, India would likely overpower Nepal's defenses quickly. Strategic targets such as airports, communication centers, and government buildings would be seized or neutralized, crippling Nepal's ability to mount a sustained resistance. Nepal's mountainous terrain, while offering some defensive advantages, would not be enough to hold back a determined Indian offensive. The Gorkha warriors of Nepal, renowned for their bravery, would face a technologically superior and numerically larger force. The speed of the advance would likely catch many off guard. Civilians, caught in the crossfire, would be forced to flee their homes, seeking safety and shelter. The humanitarian crisis, with its roots in this sudden eruption of conflict, would rapidly escalate. The initial days of this conflict would be marked by shock, confusion, and a sense of disbelief. The world would watch in horror as a peaceful nation found itself under attack, its sovereignty violated, and its people facing a humanitarian catastrophe. The international community would respond swiftly to this act of aggression. Condemnation would be swift and widespread, with nations across the globe expressing their outrage and calling for an immediate ceasefire. The United Nations Security Council would convene emergency sessions demanding an end to the violence and a withdrawal of Indian forces. The United States, along with its European allies, would likely impose sanctions on India, targeting its economy and key individuals within the government. China, with its growing influence in the region, would likely play a pivotal role. While its exact response is difficult to predict, China might provide humanitarian aid to Nepal and exert diplomatic pressure on India. This hypothetical scenario underscores the interconnected nature of global politics. An attack on one nation is no longer a regional issue, but a matter of international concern. The world, increasingly aware of its shared destiny, would mobilize to condemn the aggression and seek a peaceful resolution. The ramifications of this conflict would extend far beyond the borders of India and Nepal. The entire South Asian region would find itself on edge, with the potential for the conflict to draw in other nations. Pakistan, India's long-standing rival, might view this as an opportunity to exploit the situation. While a direct military intervention is unlikely, Pakistan might increase its support for separatist groups within India or engage in other actions that could further destabilize the region. Bangladesh, sharing a border with India, would face a delicate balancing act. The influx of refugees fleeing the conflict would strain Bangladesh's resources, while the economic disruption could have ripple effects on its own economy. The possibility of this conflict escalating into a wider regional war is a chilling thought. The consequences, both in terms of human life and economic devastation, would be catastrophic. It is a stark reminder of the importance of regional stability and the need for peaceful resolution of disputes. Section 5. Economic fallout, a heavy price to pay. The economic consequences of this conflict would be severe for both India and Nepal. Nepal, heavily reliant on India for trade and transit, would see its economy collapse. The destruction of infrastructure, disruption of supply chains, and displacement of its workforce would have a devastating impact. India too would suffer economically. International sanctions imposed in response to its aggression would isolate India from the global economy. Foreign investments would dry up, exports would plummet, and the Indian rupee would likely depreciate sharply. The cost of sustaining a military campaign, coupled with the economic fallout of sanctions, would place a heavy burden on the Indian economy. The conflict would divert resources away from essential sectors, such as education, healthcare, and infrastructure development, hindering India's long-term growth prospects. This hypothetical scenario highlights the interconnectedness of the global economy. In today's world, actions have consequences that extend far beyond national borders. Conflict, in particular, carries a hefty price tag, not just for the aggressor, but for the entire international community. Section 6. The long road back, rebuilding a nation. Assuming a ceasefire is reached and Indian forces withdraw, Nepal would face the daunting task of rebuilding its shattered nation. The physical infrastructure, devastated by the conflict, would require massive investment to reconstruct. The humanitarian crisis, with millions displaced and in need of food, water, shelter, and medical care, would require a coordinated international response. The United Nations, along with NGOs and other aid organizations, would play a crucial role in providing relief and assistance. The psychological scars of the conflict would take time to heal. The trauma experienced by the Nepali people, particularly those who witnessed violence or lost loved ones, would require long-term support and counseling. Rebuilding trust between India and Nepal would be a delicate and gradual process. It would require both countries to address the underlying issues that led to the conflict and to engage in meaningful dialogue based on mutual respect and understanding. Section 7. A glimmer of hope, international pressure and diplomacy. While the situation appears bleak, there is a glimmer of hope. The international pressure on India to cease hostilities and engage in negotiations would be immense. The economic sanctions, diplomatic isolation, and damage to India's global reputation would create strong incentives for a changing course. China, as a regional power with its own interests at stake, could play a constructive role by mediating between India and Nepal. Leveraging its economic and political influence, China could encourage dialogue and facilitate a negotiated settlement. The United Nations, through its peacekeeping operations, could help stabilize the situation on the ground, providing a buffer between the two sides and creating conditions conducive to dialogue. This hypothetical scenario underscores the crucial role of diplomacy and international cooperation in resolving conflicts. While military might dominate the initial stages, it is through dialogue, compromise, and a commitment to peace that lasting solutions can be found. Section 8. Lessons learned, the importance of peace and cooperation. The hypothetical scenario of an India-Nepal conflict, while deeply troubling, serves as a stark reminder of the importance of peace and cooperation. It highlights the devastating consequences of conflict, not just for the nations involved, but for the entire region and the world at large. The economic, political, and humanitarian costs of such a conflict would be immeasurable. It would set back development, exacerbate poverty, and sow the seeds of discord for generations to come. This thought experiment underscores the need for robust diplomatic channels, conflict resolution mechanisms, and a commitment to international law. It emphasizes the importance of addressing root causes of conflict, promoting dialogue, and fostering a culture of peace. The hope is that by exploring this dark hypothetical, we gain a deeper appreciation for the value of peace and the need to work tirelessly to prevent such scenarios from becoming reality. Section 9. Towards a brighter future, reaffirming bonds. Despite the bleakness of this hypothetical conflict, it is crucial to remember that the future is not predetermined. The shared history, cultural ties, and aspirations of the Indian and Nepali people provide a foundation for reconciliation and a brighter future. Regional organizations, such as the South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation, can play a vital role in promoting dialogue, fostering economic integration, and building trust among member states. People-to-people contact through educational exchanges, cultural programs, and tourism can help bridge divides, foster understanding, and strengthen the bonds between the two nations. The path to peace and cooperation may be challenging, but it is a path worth pursuing. By learning from this hypothetical scenario, by understanding the potential costs of conflict, and by reaffirming our commitment to dialogue and mutual respect, we can strive to create a future where such conflicts remain confined to the realm of imagination.